Hey guys, J5 here, and in today's video, I'm gonna be reacting to my response to the New Yorker article by YouTuber Hasan Minhaj. I believe that's how you say his name. Anyway, he made a. Anyway, hey, this is a very interesting. There we go. Never mind. Anyway, this is a very interesting video that I heard the Until guys I talk about. And I thought the idea behind it was very interesting. So let's see.
I know the news coming out of the Middle East right now feels devastating
Yeah,
and hopeless.
understandable.
And I've been asked by a lot of people to give my perspective on what is happening in the region.
Yeah, okay, sounds reasonable.
I've also been asked, wait a second, aren't you a liar? Now, for those of you who don't know, back in September, the New Yorker ran a piece on me called Hasan Minhaj's Emotional Truths.
Okay.
In which a reporter
Sounds interesting.
fact-checked my stand-up specials and found some factual inaccuracies that they wanted to ask me about.
Okay.
So I sat down with them to explain my writing process and why I make certain creative choices in my stand-up.
Okay.
Now, when the article came out,
Yeah.
it got picked up by almost every single news outlet.
Oh my.
All of them basically saying the same thing.
Okay.
Critics are raising questions about Hasan Minhaj and whether he and other comedians should be more truthful with their materials.
One of Mr. Minaj's stories is about a white girl
Okay.
he asked to the prom who spurned him on the big day when her parents didn't want pictures taken with a
what?
brown boy.
What?
Except it never happened.
Yeah,
Now, with
what?
everything that's happening in the world,
That
I'm
sounds-
aware even talking about this now feels so trivial.
Yes.
But
What?
being accused
Okay.
of faking racism is not trivial.
Yeah.
It is
what's
very
going- yeah, it's
serious
not.
and it demands an explanation.
Yes, exactly.
So to everyone who read that article, I want to answer the biggest question that's probably on your mind.
Okay, what is it?
Is Hasan Minhaj secretly a psycho?
What?
Underneath all that
No.
pomade, is Hasan Minhaj just a con artist who uses fake racism and Islamophobia
What
to
the-
advance his career?
What?
Because after reading that article, I would also think that.
Okay,
So I took a
understandable.
beat before responding. Because
Okay.
like you, I've been paralyzed by the news coming out of the Middle East.
Yes.
And
Makes sense.
I've been processing all the criticism that has come my way.
Yeah.
And I just want to say to anyone
Yes.
who felt betrayed or hurt by my stand-up, I am sorry.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I made artistic choices to express myself and drive home larger issues affecting me and my community. And I feel horrible
Yes.
that I let people down.
It's okay.
And the reason I feel horrible
I don't even...
is because I'm not a psycho.
Okay, yes.
But this New Yorker
Understandable.
article definitely makes me look like one. It was so
Okay.
needlessly
Yeah,
misleading.
that was a bad
Not just about my
idea.
stand-up, but also me as a person.
Okay.
The truth is,
Yes.
racism, FBI surveillance,
Yeah.
and threats to my family happened.
Yeah.
And I said this on the
True.
record. So
Yes.
I'm going to do the most Hasan Minhaj thing ever.
Okay.
I'm going to do a deep dive on my own scandal with graphics.
With
Because there was so much evidence I gave the New Yorker that they ignored that
Okay.
I want to show you.
Yes.
So buckle up because it's about to get tedious. There are three
Okay.
stories from that article that I want to address.
Okay.
The anthrax scare, the FBI informant story, but first I want to talk about how and why I was rejected from prom. Now let me first say this. I am
sorry for
38
laughing.
years old with a wife and 2 kids. I do not give a shit about prom. But it's a big story from my first stand-up
Okay.
special, and the New Yorker implied that I made it all up
Okay.
and that my race wasn't a factor in my rejection.
Okay.
But it was, and I have the evidence to prove it.
Uh-huh.
So, in Homecoming King, I told a story about how I was supposed to go to prom with a white girl named Bethany Reed. Her real name
Okay.
is not Bethany.
Yes.
I changed it to protect her anonymity.
Oh, okay.
I say that I show up at Bethany's house on prom night, but at the
Yes.
doorstep, her mom tells me they don't want her to go to prom with me because
Yes.
they'll be taking a lot of pictures and they don't want their family back home to see her
Oh,
with a brown
okay.
boy.
Yes, that makes sense.
Bethany's mom did really say that.
Yes.
It was just a few days before prom.
Oh, okay.
And I created the doorstep scene to drop the
Okay.
audience into the feeling of
Yes.
that moment, which I told the reporter.
Yes.
Is the doorstep moment true? Like,
No,
did that happen?
No, it happened before. Like
Listen.
the emotional truth remains the same.
Okay.
Her mom going, "Hey, sweetie, we take photos and we don't want people to see.
Okay.
We have family back home."
Did she sort of give
Okay.
that as the reason of like my parents aren't comfortable with
Yes.
doing it? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
it just
Understandable.
destroyed me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. That's understandable.
The reporter said
Okay.
it's understandable.
Yes.
But none of what I explicitly said makes it in the article. This is what they wrote instead.
She told me that she turned down Minhaj, who was then a close friend, in person days before the dance.
What?
Minhaj acknowledged that this was correct, but he said that the two of them had long carried different understandings of her rejection.
Okay.
This whole paragraph makes it sound like I got friend-zoned by Bethany, and then I turned into an angry incel, and then faked racism to get back at her.
That's not
and
what
I think
happened.
This sentence is the reason why people believe that.
Yes.
He said that the two of them had long carried different understandings of her rejection. This sentence is incredibly misleading and implies
Yes,
the
that's
exact
not what happened.
opposite of what I meant.
Yes.
Let me explain.
Okay.
Okay. Over a decade after
Yeah,
prom,
okay.
in August of 2014, Bethany and I met at a restaurant called Sarah Betts in New York, and we cleared the air on what her mom said to me at prom.
Okay.
Now, I talk about this in Homecoming King, and I also told the New Yorker about this meetup.
Okay.
She had an understanding that we were like totally cool. And like I had been carrying something completely different.
Okay.
And I just told her what it meant. Like, it's like, do you understand what it's like being a skinny Muslim Desi brown kid in Davis, California? And, you know, we're always told to put our head down and just take it. And I did. And I carried this water for like years and years.
When the article says we had different understandings, what I clearly meant was that Bethany never knew how much her family being racist had affected me. That's why we had different understandings.
Yes.
Not because Bethany denied this happened. In fact,
yes.
Bethany basically confirmed in writing that racism was a factor in the prom rejection.
Okay.
In 2015, I sent Bethany an email congratulating her on her wedding to a man of color, saying, I know I told you about sharing the story about us not being able to go to prom together with kids and communities to talk about forgiveness and perseverance. But this ending, you guys getting married, is proof that love conquers all.
True.
It's a testament to the way the world truly can be. Wishing you guys the absolute best, and here's to a life filled with gorgeous Zayn Malik mixed-race babies. Yep, I'm aware.
What?
I write emails the way Lin-Manuel Miranda talks. I'm not proud of it, but let's stay focused. Bethany then replied saying, I do think love conquers all.
True.
And while it might always be challenging, true love is worth the fight.
Okay.
We also had the unique opportunity to showcase both our cultures at the wedding.
Yes.
With a ceremony for each. I think my parents have come a long way too. And what would her parents have to come a long way from?
Yes.
Racism.
Oh.
Again,
Okay.
I don't care about prom. I mean that. And Bethany didn't do anything wrong.
Yes.
And I wish
No,
her
she
and her
didn't.
family nothing but the best.
Okay.
Her parents have grown. My parents have grown.
Yes.
That's the point of the whole show.
Makes
and that
sense.
should be celebrated. Love conquers all.
Yes.
But I do not appreciate the New Yorker implying that I made up racism. My team and I repeatedly try to give them the emails that you just saw.
As early as, you know, I believe fall 2014.
I have these if you want.
Yeah, and then we have email correspondence in 2017, which we can give you.
Okay.
Then I now shift to email correspondence, which she can give you.
I have it. I can send it.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
And happy to give you all these emails.
Yes.
Not only that,
Okay.
we confirmed the emails were sent to the reporter and their fact checker before the article came out. Therefore, they knew my rejection was due to race. I confirmed it on the record and provided corroborating evidence. And yet,
Yes.
they misled readers by excluding all of that
Okay.
and splicing two different quotes together to leave you thinking that I made up a racist incident. Now, the article also implies that I humiliated Bethany and got her doxxed with my carelessness.
What?
So I want to show you evidence that shows that that isn't true.
Yes. That sounds
Back in November of
crazy.
2015, when Homecoming King was running off Broadway, Bethany came to the show, and this is how the New Yorker reported it.
The woman said that Minhaj had invited her and her husband to an off-Broadway performance. She'd initially interpreted the invitation as an attempt to rekindle an old friendship, but she now believes the move was meant to humiliate her.
I promise it was never my intention to humiliate Bethany at the show.
Exactly.
But this reporting
That sounds
is
ridiculous.
false. I looked back at our emails and I found out that I didn't invite Bethany to that show.
Yes.
She
No.
emailed me out of the blue and told me that she was coming because her friends saw the show and said they loved it.
Okay.
After the show, Bethany also texted me that it was awesome, and we kept in touch for years.
Okay.
I included her in the journey with full transparency. I put her in touch with fact checkers from This American Life.
Yes.
I invited her to the Netflix premiere party. I even emailed her to take down a tweet that might reveal her identity. Bethany then responded with a really nice email that ended with her saying, P.S. Thanks for the heads up on the tweet. I deleted the other ones, but this one escaped me. It's shockingly hard to resurface old social media, apparently.
Oh.
Thanks, too, for always protecting me and my family.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever formally thanked you for that.
Okay.
And I do sincerely appreciate it.
Yes.
Even in the Netflix special, I don't use any real photos of Bethany or her family.
Yes.
Those are actors.
Netflix
And their
special.
faces are blurred.
Okay.
Maintaining Bethany's anonymity has always been a priority for me.
Yes.
I would never want her to get doxxed or harassed. And if there were
True.
any negative consequences that came your way, Bethany, I am sorry about that. I am not perfect, but I promise I am not needlessly cruel.
Okay. Yes.
Even though that's what the New Yorker wants you to believe, despite the evidence.
Yes.
I was an open book. I sat down in good faith. They had my testimony in 4 years of correspondence, backed up with receipts, all on the record that showed my race was a factor in my prom rejection. I wasn't careless with Bethany's privacy. And she thanked me for keeping her family's identity safe.
Okay.
So how could the New Yorker imply the opposite?
Okay. Yeah.
But here's the bigger question.
Uh-huh.
Why did the New Yorker fact check my stand-up special, but not properly fact check their own article?
Oh.
If you're still here,
fair
I have 2
point.
more stories that I want to address.
Okay.
Now, in my second special, The King's Jester, I tell a story about how I met and was harassed by an FBI informant named Brother Eric.
Okay.
I talk about how he tried to entrap me at a gym, and when I made fun of him, he slammed me against the hood of a cop car. The truth is,
I'm sorry for
I
laughing.
did have altercations with undercover law enforcement growing up, and that experience formed the basis of this story.
Okay.
But it didn't go down exactly like this.
Okay.
So
how
I
did it
understand
go?
why people are upset.
Yes, that makes sense.
People face real danger at the hands of the police, and false stories can undermine real stories.
Yes.
And I am sorry I added to that
Yeah,
problem.
Understandable.
My intention wasn't to take away from these stories. It was to spotlight them through my special. That's why I used this story to talk about Hamid Hayat.
That's interesting.
Hamid and I were part of the same NorCal Muslim community. When he got entrapped, it rocked our community, and he spent 14 years in prison. We were the same age, same background, and like him, I also had run-ins with undercover agents. I was even physically harassed by them while playing basketball.
Oh.
And you're probably wondering, why not just say that?
Yes. Why not?
This is not
say
an
that?
excuse. It is an explanation of my process.
Okay.
When I am storytelling,
Okay.
every beat has to do multiple things in a funny and impactful way. With the
Yes.
story,
Good.
I had to set up 3 plot points.
Okay.
The moment I realized authority figures hate being made fun of. Why I named my show Patriot Act.
Okay.
And spotlight the story of Hamid Hayat. The
Yes.
problem is 99% of people watching Netflix have no idea the FBI spied on Muslims at mosques.
Okay.
Or they don't even believe it was real. And I know this because when
understandable.
I performed earlier versions of the story in front of audiences, they had no idea what I was talking about.
Yes.
FBI agents embedding in mosques and entrapping young Muslims through basketball or weightlifting or whatever. It sounds insane.
Yes.
But it was happening all over the country, even in my mosque in my hometown. It was infiltrated.
Okay.
And the footage that I used in the special proves that it was very real
Yes.
and very stupid. I wanted to recreate that feeling that only Muslims felt for a broad audience, the feeling of paranoia and vindication, tension, and release. That is why people laugh at this part. You don't get the release without the tension.
Yes.
That was my artistic intent, which I told the New Yorker.
Good
If you
point.
notice something about, even in the show, we pop out of it. And this is actually the point I was trying to make. My dad goes, "That's not Brother Eric. His name is not Eric. His name is Craig."
Okay.
And the moment that the reaction the audience is having is, "Nudge me, you're missing the point."
Okay.
The point is that it doesn't matter if his name was Eric, Craig, or Adam.
Okay.
The point is that there is now a pattern here at large.
Sure.
And that was the thing that I was trying to do. And ultimately, the emotional truth of trying to point a spotlight on my community story and Hamid's story is important to me.
Yes.
Hamid Hayat's story is really important to me.
Okay.
And he reached out to me after the article came out.
Makes sense.
And he wanted me to share these texts. He said that he had nothing but love for me and that I hadn't diminished his story.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to do.
Yes.
But the reporter was far more concerned about the FBI informant I talked about in the special, which honestly felt very weird.
Yes.
In the story about the informant, actually the bulk of the story is about Craig Monty. Like did you reach out to Craig Monty?
No.
Yeah,
Do you feel like you owe him anything?
I've heard some things, and I'd rather not speak on that.
So you feel like you don't owe him? You didn't owe him like a heads up.
As a Muslim, Am I supposed to apologize to an ex-con who tried to entrap Muslims for the FBI?
What?
Yeah,
No.
maybe if he gave us a heads up, I would owe him a heads up.
Yeah.
Now, the last story I want to talk
exactly.
about is the anthrax scare.
Okay.
My last special, I talk about how I received a letter in the mail, and when I opened the letter, white powder fell on my daughter. And we had to take her to the hospital, only to find out it was not real anthrax.
Okay.
This, as you know, is not how it went down. And let me just say, I am sorry for embellishing the story, or if anyone was worrying about me and my family, I apologize.
Yes, understand.
But
Yeah,
let me
I
make
understand.
something clear. A letter with white powder was sent to my apartment in February of 2019.
Okay.
I opened it in the kitchen. Powder fell on the table, and my daughter
True.
was just a few feet away. After 10 seconds of freaking out, I realized it was
Okay.
not anthrax and that someone was fucking with me because people had been fucking with me since January 1st, 2019 after this happened.
Yes.
Netflix under fire
What is
today
it?
after its decision to pull an episode of a comedy show that was critical of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
What?
Truth is, when this news broke, my life got very scary.
Yeah.
Saudi bots were spamming my socials. A threatening
Understandable.
letter was sent to Netflix. I was getting weird phone calls at night. Then fake anthrax was sent to my house.
Okay.
And after that happened, I asked Netflix for our security guard to follow me everywhere.
Okay.
And people noticed.
True.
Friends were texting me about seeing me rolling everywhere through New York with security. And at one point, my wife even asked our security detail if he knew any companies that sold those tiny GPS trackers for strollers.
Okay.
Because we were concerned that someone might try to kidnap or hurt our daughter.
Oh, okay.
That is all real.
Yes.
The danger at that time
Yes.
was palpable, but Bina and I
Okay.
decided to keep the anthrax scare private because we were worried that Netflix might shut down my show, which would have put my entire staff out of work.
Understandable. Yes.
Now you might be wondering, this is all terrifying, so why embellish? Why even say you took your daughter to the hospital?
True.
The night of the anthrax scare,
Okay.
Bina and I, we got into a huge argument, and she kept asking, Hasan, what if this powder fell on our daughter? So I created the hospital scene to put the audience in that same shock and fear that me and Bina felt playing out that night. Then I added the investigator character because women in my life were telling me that Bina was coming off super naggy in old versions of the story.
Okay.
So I gave some of Bina's lines to other characters so that her perspective was represented in a way that didn't reflect poorly on her.
Yes. Good
Again, I'm
point.
sorry if I crossed a line here, but I told this story this way to put the audience on the roller coaster ride that we were both experiencing at that time.
Yes.
Now look, I understand why people were upset by all of this.
Yes.
Different comedians have different expectations built into their personas.
True.
I thought I had two different expectations built into my work.
Okay. Fair point.
My work as a storytelling comedian
Yeah.
and my work as a political comedian.
Yes.
Where facts always come first.
Okay.
That is why the
Yes.
fact-checking on Patriot Act was extremely rigorous.
Yes.
The fact-checking in my congressional testimony, deeply rigorous. I don't think there's any comedian
Yes.
on earth who has stood in front of more data viz than me.
Okay.
But in my work as a
Interesting.
storytelling comedian, I assumed that the lines between truth and fiction were allowed to be a bit more blurry. And I totally get why a journalist would be interested where that line sits. I just wish the reporter had been more interested in their own premise. Someone genuinely curious about truth and stand-up wouldn't just fact-check my specials.
Okay.
They would
Good
fact-check
point.
a bunch of specials. They would establish a control group, a baseline,
Yes.
to see how far outside the bounds I was in relation to others.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't just cherry-pick a few stories.
Okay.
They would give their readers a sense of proportionality.
Okay.
What was true versus what was false.
Yes.
In my last special, I talk about almost getting sued by a hedge fund. 100% true.
Okay, yes.
Getting ball surgery so we could have kids. 100% true. Netflix
yeah,
pulling
true.
my episode on Saudi and Saudi. 100% true.
Yeah.
Getting rejected from prom because of my race.
Okay.
1000% true.
Okay.
If the reporter
What?
were genuinely curious about the idea of truth and stand-up,
Okay.
they would have had to report that the majority
Okay.
of my stories are true.
True.
But their article led with the opposite,
Okay.
saying much of my stand-up
Does it matter
never
what
happened to me.
Oh.
That is false.
Yes.
Nearly all of it happened to me. Some of it didn't.
Okay.
Even the last line of the article is stripped of the context to leave you with the impression that I'm some sort of unrepentant liar.
Yes, that makes sense.
He told me the emotional truth is first,
Point.
The factual truth is secondary. We tried really hard to have them put in the full quote with full context.
Okay.
But they refused.
Yes.
So let me leave you with the full context.
When people see a Hasan Minhaj show, there's two different expectations. There's the Hasan Minhaj you see maybe here at the Comedy Cellar, where there is an implicit agreement between the audience, like we're going down into a basement, like we're about to see a 1 hour comedy show that feels like there is an emotional roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Then there's Hasan Minhaj, the guy you've seen on The Daily Show as a correspondent, or the guy from Patriot Act on Netflix.
Okay.
Which is, I am not the primary character. The news story is the primary character. With the latter, the truth comes first. Comedy sometimes comes second to make the infotainment the sugar on the medicine. In this, the emotional truth is first. The factual truth is secondary.
Okay.
In political comedy,
Interesting.
facts come first.
Yes.
In comedic storytelling, emotions come first.
Yes.
That is what I said.
True.
And that is what I meant.
Yes.
Going forward,
Okay.
will I be more thoughtful about sticking to the facts in my storytelling?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. True.
I have no problem
point.
with honest, good faith critique because I am always trying to improve as a performer and as a person.
Yes.
Look, the guy in this article
Yeah.
is a proper fucking psycho.
True.
But I now hope you feel like the real me
Okay.
is not.
Yes.
I'm just a guy with IBS and low sperm motility. Again, there is much more important news happening in the world right now that needs your attention. So I appreciate you watching. I take the note.
Yes.
And I hope to see you at the next show.
Well done. Wow, that was a very interesting video. Wow, that was some heavy stuff. But anyway, hey, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, why not give me a like and subscribe if you're brand new. Take care, lots of love, and I'll see you all on the next episode. Bye bye.